Hello and welcome back to Blake's Den, and this is my 1989 Austin Mini Designer project. And in this video I'm going to rebuild the front brake calipers. So let's make a start. So in the last video I got the wheels on this, got this on the ground for the first time in a long while, which has enabled me to have a bit of a tidy up of my garage. And I've put a new workbench on. Well, I say new to me, it wasn't even new to me to be honest. I've had this quite a while, it's just not been in here. With a big record 23 number vise on there with the sliding jaws, so that's good. And yeah, I've got a bit more space to work. So yeah, I'll make a start on stripping down the old brake calipers. Also as well, I've been fixing the newest vehicle on the fleet. Little Tykes Cozy Coupe. Yeah, that had front wheel failure, so yeah, never ends. So first thing I've done is retrieved my brake calipers from the cupboard. I labelled these up near side and off side. Also labelled these up as Project Designer because I've actually got another pair of calipers floating around somewhere in the garage and I didn't want to get confused. I've got another set of mini ones. I need to work out which one's the best. This pair and the other pair I've got. So first thing to do, let's just pick one, start pulling bits off it. So this is what we've got. Brake caliper complete with the bolts. Got new bolts for it, but I'll put them safely in the bag in case I need them. Still got the brake pads in, plenty of material on them actually. So I think I'll start stripping them down. First job, I'll pull out these split pins and we'll get the spring out and we'll get the brake pads out. So with the split pins straightened out, I should be able to just prise these out now. Quite stuck in there, quite rusted in, it must have been in there some time. So yeah, it's coming now, just a case of prising it in the right position really. Yeah, that's nearly out. I'll do the other side as well. I'll lever against there. Ah, that one was much easier. Yeah, that's out. Then the spring comes off and then we should be able to get the pads out. They're quite stuck to the pistons. That's one out. That's two. Plenty of meat on them still, but for cheap enough I will be replacing them. The next bit is the messy bit. I'm going to try and get the pistons out of the caliper body, so there's two pistons. I'm going to try doing that with some compressed air. So I'm going to put it against the hole where the brake line would normally go and pull the trigger. I have got safety goggles on because I did this once before and you get well, potentially could get brake fluid everywhere, but let's see what happens. Whoop. There you go. There's one out. And the problem is once you get one out, you've then got a big hole and you can't get the second one out. So let's see if I can tell you what, do that. So that's that one. It's not actually too bad. It's not too scored. Oh, it's quite good that, yeah. That's not too bad at all. Right, I'll see if I can get the other one out. I think I'm going to have to get something on there and sort of prise it and pull it out. To get the other piston out, I've just pushed the good piston back in, wedged a couple of spanners in, so what should happen is the piston should come out, hit that, and then the pressure will transfer to the other one. He's open, so there you go. Yeah, they both came out there. Maybe I should have done that to start off with. And then I should now just be able to walk them out by hand, he says. Let's try a bit more air. So with the two pistons out, you can see that one is really heavily corroded, really rough there. The rest of it doesn't look too bad. So this is like a chrome surface, but obviously the chrome plating's been all damaged there. The other one's not too bad. It's got like a little bit around the top, just where the piston would be sticking out a bit, but that one might be salvageable, but this one's, that just rips the seal. In fact, you can't see it very well, but the seal is damaged where that one came out, where it's just been sort of rubbing and breaking the seal. So next thing I want to do, I'll put this in the vise, and then I think I'll split the caliper in two and get the bleed nipple off as well. To get the bleed nipple off, I've put a long reach 11 on. I'm just going to try and shock this off. There we are, it's coming. Got new bleed nipples to go on, which is good. These ones can stay and clean them up, and they can be used as a spare. And then next thing I want to do is split the caliper, which is these two big bolts here. Undo them. And I've got a 5/8 socket and my handy impact gun, and hopefully this will whiz us apart. There we are. Get that one out. So the issue I've got here is the socket is just rounding off the bolt. It's a 16-sided, I've not got a 6-sided one, or 18 or whatever number it is. It goes on there, but it's a bit loose. I'm going to have to find a better socket to go on there, which is a bit tighter, and see whether that gets it off. So I've got it apart there off camera. I ended up using a 5/16 rather than a 5/8, so it was just a smidgen smaller. Braid that on. Of course, now the bolt stuck in there, but we'll sort that out. And now we've got the caliper in 2/2, so we can now think about getting these seals out. I've switched to close-up mode so you can get a better view of this. So that's the, you can see the seal there where it's damaged, which was where there was the corrosion on the piston. So to get these out, I think there's a metal ring here, which we need to pop out. That's there on both of them. And then we should be able to get the seals out from there. So let's give that a go. So I've managed to get the screwdriver under there, and just, there we are, prise it up. And then that's come out. So I don't know if you can see, but it's a, pull it apart. You've got a rubber seal and a metal retaining ring. And then I think, yeah, there should be another seal just below that, which is like the wiper seal, I guess you'd call it. So one stops dust from going in, and one sort of seals it for the hydraulic pressure. So let's see if I can get this one out. There we go. That's just a rubber O-ring. Cool, so that's all stripped down now there. I'll do the same on the other side, then it's time to give these a really good clean. The next job I want to do is clean these up. I've got a wire wheel in a pillar drill, and I just use that. I'll just go around, knock the major bits of the rust off, and just clean it up a bit. So they're looking a bit cleaner now, but I'm not going to leave them as that. I'm going to give them a spray with degreaser and a bit of a scrub, and then I'll leave them steeping whilst I go and strip down the other caliper as well. Give them a good spray. A little while later, here's the other caliper cleaned up. This was the driver's side. Yeah, it was a lot worse actually. The pistons are really quite bad, so they're definitely for the bin. So right, I'll give them the treatment of a degreaser, and then we'll think about painting them. So there's the calipers after a bit of a clean up. I've just blasted off any residue with the airline, and they're ready for some painting. So I'm going to paint them with this Simonized very high temperature VHT silver. Resists up to 800 degrees C, also resists petrol and oil. I don't think it resists brake fluid though, because that's, well, it strips paint. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not going to give these a full coverage. I'm not worried about the inside faces because they're covered up anyway. Just the outside to make it look pretty. What I've done, I've just popped the brake pipes back on because I don't want any paint going on surface in there where the pipe sort of butts up. So yeah, I'll give these a spray. Very shiny. That's got to be worth an extra 5 horsepower, don't you think? I'm ready to start the reassembly process. I've blasted out with the airline all these, cleaned them up the best I can. Even use a bit of brake cleaner because yeah, that's kind of what it's needed for. I've also got all of the seals sitting in here just in some brake fluid, so they're just sort of lubricating themselves. I'm not using any grease. The Rover manual doesn't say use grease, it says just use brake fluid, so if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. So right, I'm going to start putting the first seal in, which is the one which goes in the groove here, and that should be fairly straightforward to do. So I'm going to get the seal out of the brake fluid where it's been soaking, and I'm just going to use a bit of brake fluid on my finger just to lubricate in here where it's going, and then it should just be a case of dropping that into the groove and then chasing it around, and it should just pop into place. There we go. Simple as that, and I'll do the same on the next half of the caliper. Obviously it's very important to have a very clean working area when you're doing this. The next thing I want to do is put the piston in. The piston goes in that way around. Definitely doesn't go in that way around like I did on the other caliper that I did off camera before this. It's kind of counterintuitive. You'd think that large face would go against the pad, but it's not. It's that small face goes against the pad. I'm guessing that's to give it more pressure. Pressure equals force upon area. Smaller area for the same amount of force gives you more pressure. So I'm just going to coat this with a bit of brake fluid as well. And you can see that the piston actually has a chamfer on it to help line it up and get it into place. So now that's all done. That should just there, and it should, he says, just sort of push home. It might need a bit of a wiggle or a small tap with a hammer. So there we go, that's pushed in. And then the next thing I want to do is the top seal. So again, that's been soaking in brake fluid. So that goes in there, nice and simple. Same with the other one. Yeah, it just pops in there. Now we've got to get the metallic retaining rings on, and these can be problematic. Now, the technique I found whilst doing the other calipers was to put the ring roughly in place. If you try to gently tap it in, it's one side goes in, the other side comes up, and it will never go in. What I've got here is, I'll put it in front of the camera. It's like an aluminium leg. I think it's off a chair or something. And I can put that on there. And then if I give it a very firm hit with a hammer, it should just send that ring straight in. Actually, a little bit more force required. And there we are, that ring's nicely seated now. So I'll do the same to the other side of the caliper. So when I was reading up on the interweb about this, it said on the mini forum, someone was saying, oh, you should never split your caliper. And someone else was saying, you should always split your caliper. But if you split it, you've got to replace this little O-ring, which goes in there, which does the seal. And that doesn't come in the kit, you've got to buy that separately. And you've also got to use new bolts to hold them together. Personally, I don't know how you would get those seals in, particularly that metal ring, if you didn't split the caliper, because you saw what I had to do to hammer it home. So I think I've done the right thing here. But yeah, we can now put the two caliper halves together, making sure that all the surfaces are nice and clean. And got a bit of brake fluid in there as well, just to help lubricate the seal. And then we can get the bolts in. So when you put the bolts in, it's very important you put a bit of thread lock on the end of the threads. and then it's very important you get them to the right torque as well. So I'm just going to start them off by hand. There's no washers or anything going with them, just to bolt straight into the body of the caliper. There we are, good cut thread lock. I'll get that in and then I'll get this in the vise and we'll get the torque wrench out. So with these in the vise now, I can tighten up the bolts. The random guy in the mini forum who seemed to know what he was on about said 60 foot-pounds, which by my maths correlates to 81-ish Newton meters. So I'm just going to evenly tighten these up until my torque wrench begins to click. There we are. So there, back together. That's great. I'll do the same on the other caliper. So there we are, all together and done. Put the bleed nipples on as well and the little rubber covers. So they're looking quite good. One thing I haven't done is put the brake pads in. That's because I don't know when these are going back on the car. Could be a week, could be a month, could be a year. So rather than contaminate or risk contaminating the brake pads, I'm just going to leave them off and I'll put them on when I finally get them assembled on the car. And as a quick before and after, look at that. Obviously, that is not the exact before. That's the another pair I've got in the garage for rebuilding. Yeah, that's quite an impressive difference. So I hope you found that interesting. If you did, press that like button. I've probably spent more money than if I just bought some new calipers, but the whole ethos of doing this is to reuse as much as I can. These are genuine AP brakes. You buy some new calipers now, they won't be AP, they'll be made out of Chinesium and the quality will not be the same as these ones. So, and there's nothing wrong with them once you've serviced them. The castings and the bodies are still fine, so why buy something else? So yeah, as I was saying, if you've liked this video, press the like button. If you've got any questions, ask them in the comments below. And if you want to consider subscribing to the channel, that'd be great. Every little bit helps. The more views this channel gets, the more encouragement I've got to do more work on my Mini. So once again, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.